But it is not that simple because of this format battle, and it is certainly not that simple because of alternate ways to now distribute this same content. Video on demand, for example, is a $2 billion euro market in the EU alone. Over time, video on demand will render in high definition. One seemingly inexorable trend for all distribution paths is the compression of film release cycles. Decades ago, studios held their films for 5 years before releasing them on television. Then along came home box office, Canal Plus, offering an alternative distribution path for unmodified, uncut, commercial-free films 12 months after the original theatrical release date. With the passage of time and the development of the home video market, the theatrical release date and the DVD release dates have gotten ever closer, such that certain films are released simultaneously in theaters and on DVD. The issue in this compression of release dates is marketing momentum and, of course, money. Since DVD sales represent more revenue to studios than they receive from any other source, the DVD release date is a determinant of profitability. Having the DVD release as soon as possible after the theatrical release allows the studio to take advantage of the large advertising and associated marketing push that had been developed for the theatrical release of the movie. However, this close proximity between video release and theatrical release does not please exhibitors who tend to see this as the studios taking advantage. This is particularly prevalent in Europe, and I personally believe it's an antiquated notion, as the choice to go out to the cinema is a distinctly different choice than staying home and watching a video on television. However, the dynamics that are moving for the compression in release windows are also the same dynamics moving for simultaneous global film releases, which are generally described as being motivated by trying to inhibit piracy or the development of contraband. However, it's my view that this movement to simultaneous global releases is driven in many respects by the development of a 24-hour news cycle in which events in any part of the world, including significant movie openings, are covered simultaneously everywhere, and therefore public awareness is built on a global basis simultaneously. Perhaps, thanks to the internet, the world is now too interconnected for film studios to control the global press associated with major pictures. So why not release them in all countries at the same time? Climatic conditions, seasons, school holidays, all are mitigating factors that prevent the same, along with a shortage of screens. However, the benefits of simultaneous global releasing in minimizing piracy and optimizing the media investments in theatrical release are very compelling. Now to the big question about high-definition distribution. Which format or channel will dominate? In the long run, the answer is simple: Internet video distribution. Yet in the short term, internet distribution is mainly a distraction, more trouble to some people than it's worth. Let me take a moment to explain. This is the most technical part of my presentation, and I promise you it really isn't all that technical, just some simple mathematics. However, there won't be a test at the end of this speech. When DreamWorks' movie Shrek 2 was released to DVD in 2004, it sold in the United States 11 million copies during the first 3 days. On the assumption that the DVD of Shrek required 6 gigabytes per DVD, that equates to 66 petabytes of video data transported from retailers to homes over 3 days in the U.S. A petabyte, if you aren't familiar with the term, is 1 quadrillion bytes. 66 petabytes is a lot of data. To put in perspective, the Internet Archive, which purports to hold a searchable picture of the entire World Wide Web back to the mid-90s, holds almost 2 petabytes of data. That means Shrek 2, in its first 3 days of DVD release, was 33 times larger than the entire Internet ever. If that Shrek 2 release had been carried over the Internet rather than in shopping carts and minivans, it would have required a very large Internet pipe to do the job in 3 days. I have done the arithmetic, and the pipe required would have to carry slightly more than 2 trillion bits per second, which assumes that transmissions were evenly spaced, which of course they would not be. 2 trillion bits per second. If you're not a geek, you probably know this number as 2 terabytes. Is not only a huge internet pipe, it is bigger than all the internet backbone pipes put together. The largest internet exchange point where ISPs interconnect in Europe is the Amsterdam Internet Exchange, or AMX9, which runs at a peak capacity of 238 gigabytes per second. It would require 8 exchanges equivalent to AMX9 just to handle the Shrek 2 releases over the Internet. Well, there aren't 8 exchanges anywhere. My point here is simple. The Internet is not yet ready to distribute major theatrical motion pictures. There are many ways to crunch these numbers. You can make the file smaller by using a more efficient compression program like H.264, MPEG-4, VC1. You could distribute the files using peer-to-peer networks like BitTorrent, where copies are shared and bandwidth requirements are further reduced. But whatever technical means we play to reduce the burden of releasing Shrek 2 over the Internet, there still won't be enough bandwidth, especially if we start talking about Shrek 2 in high definition, which requires 3 times that which I have previously described, which was standard resolution. And remember, we're talking about only one movie. Among the hundreds that are released every year, the numbers just become mathematical abstractions. No, the Internet is not ready to take over the main responsibility for home distribution of motion pictures. It isn't even close to ready. Why then is Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Sony, and even Walmart launching Internet movie distribution services? Their reasons vary, but the one reason these companies all have in common is to get in the game, because eventually Internet video will dominate. When the internet was first turned on 40 years ago, the backbone connections carried 50 kilobits per second, 5,000 bytes. Today, the average internet backbone connection is 10 gigabytes per second, and between some cities there are multiple backbones in parallel. This is an increase over 40 years of at least 200,000 times. Our exercise with Shrek 2 shows the present internet is far too small to handle the bulk risk of video retail traffic. But Moore's law tells us the internet 10 years from now will be at least 1,000 times bigger than it is today, big enough even for Shrek. This goes a long way to explaining the current state of internet video, which is typified by YouTube with its short clips and generally low video resolution.